Last night from the United States Senate, predominantly GOP, voted 51-48 to pass the GOP tax plan. All right. The article I have before me is saying that the Republicans are on the verge, but last night, of course,
this morning,
right
technically.
Yeah, this morning. Yes, correct. Thank you for that correction.
They
passed it, and
I want to say I was watching. I fell asleep. I just couldn't stay up. It was just happening so late.
Yeah, they were doing it so late on purpose because they knew that no one was going to stay up that late, just to keep an eye on our honorable United States senators who are just looking out for us. So, basically, the Senate approved of a $1.4 trillion tax overhaul, and this legislation is going to cut the top corporate tax rate to 20% and lower taxes for most individuals. Tennessee Republican Bob Corker was the only Republican to vote against the legislation, joining 48 other Democrats in opposing the sweeping overhaul of the nation's tax laws. This passage is basically a huge victory for the Republicans, who have been trying to basically pass any kind of legislative promises that they were making way back in 2016. Now, of course, what has to happen next is it has to go back to the House in order for them to verify, to make sure everything's on point. Then it goes back to the Senate, and then it gets put right in front of President Donald Trump.
Congratulations. This will be his first piece of legislation that we're yet to see him sign it, so I'm going to still have a very small crossing of my fingers. But it looks like this will be the first major bill he signs.
Yeah, and I want everyone to understand what's really going to happen. We're not getting a break. It's the large corporations that are getting a break. You being a working person, working 8-hour job, 9 to 5, you're not going to get the fair deal. You're going to get the raw deal, because if you're earning below $100K, you're going to be paying more in taxes. And chances are, because of these large amount of tax cuts that the corporations are going to get, of course, it's going to add to the deficit. And what have we always heard from the Republicans, especially from the GOP? Their talking points from 2008, from 2010, and even up to this election cycle as well.
I think
deficits. We got to worry about the deficit.
I think the right way to say it is they cared about it in 1992 to 2000, and then they cared about it again from 2008 to 2016.
Yeah, they did. But now they have an entire Senate and House, as well as the presidency and a Supreme Court. Because let's face it, it's a GOP House and Senate. They can approve whoever they want because the president is a Republican. Now they're running the show, and I guess the word deficit, did they forget about it, Daniel?
No, they're just investing in the future.
Oh, investing in the future. Yeah. So that when they quit their honorable job as being a United States Senator or United States House Representative, they have a nice, cushy lobbyist job to make sure that they're living okay.
Or they're on the board of a company.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Well, then I stand corrected.
Yeah,
because
it's very important to make that.
Yeah, I was actually watching some videos that Senator Bernie Sanders was addressing on the floor in regards to if this bill is to be passed, and of course it did get passed, unfortunately. And he was saying that basically, I want my Republican colleagues to make a promise to me that once this is passed, you're not going to go after Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, educational programs, because with this cut, other services are going to be hit as well. But I can guarantee this: the military-industrial complex will not get hit.
Don't worry. They just hit other things. No, this is because it's very sneaky, because what they're doing is they're saying, hey, this is going to revenue neutral. This is going to economic growth. That's always been a talking point that they have. Oh, economic growth. It's going to fix everything, even though historically it's never worked out. And they're like asking for numbers of economic growth similar to like what China has. They're like, oh, we'll just double our GDP. That'll work by percentage. That'll work. Meanwhile, what they're not saying is with the deficit that's happening, they're going to then, like what Kit was saying, they're then going to come back after this is passed and say, oh, we're losing too much money. I'm not sure, I can't tell you why we're losing that money. We're just losing money. We got to start cutting our spending. Well, we can't do the military-industrial complex because we got to be able to take out planets.
And let's not forget, we have to invest into that Joint Strike Fighter that
Right.
still doesn't work right. I mean, they've been working on it now like what?
Don't worry,
for 12 years.
Don't worry. It's just $1.5 trillion.
Okay, but they've been working on it for 12 years, right?
It's around that time.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure once they add another $1 trillion
Yes.
into the research, it's going to fly maybe 2 feet off the ground, right?
No, it's great because remember the Joint Strike Fighter. Because remember they're very careful about how they spend money.
Right.
So this plane is supposed to be a bomber, a fighter assault, and it's supposed to have the role of every single aircraft we've had. That's like I want a car that's a compact that has the towing capacity of a pickup truck that has the passenger capacity of a SUV that can go as fast as a dragster, but is a subcompact car.
Wow, you're living like in a fantasy world.
That's what this plane is. And again, but remember, perfectly fine. Don't worry about spending. That's fine. But that Social Security program that people put in money to, and then are supposed to get it out in their retirement. We're just going to siphon off that.
Right.
It's this huge bank that was created by Social Security that they've just been skimming off of and taking chunks out of for forever. I mean, this is the privatization of America.
Yeah, and see, Mitch McConnell, who was leading the charge specifically on getting this bill to be passed, was basically saying that I support this tax bill after securing language to eliminate an $85 billion budget gimmick, as well as commit from the administration's Senate leadership to advance growth-oriented legislative solution to enact fair and permanent protections. So
was that budget gimmick like feeding women with the WIC program? Like what's it? When I hear gimmick, I hear something important.
Well, listen, he's trying to sound smart.
Yeah.
But these guys aren't smart. What they did was basically give the rich and large corporations another comfortable pillow to sit on, a 5-star meal, steak, mashed potatoes, some dessert like maybe apple pie, and maybe 2 glasses of fine Italian red wine just to drink, just to make sure that they're okay. Now, for the rest of us, we're getting bread and water and maybe a half-eaten apple. I mean, because that's what we're getting.
Yeah.
So you can imagine,
No, I think that we had all that stuff, and they're like, you have too much bread and apple. Here's a quarter apple and 3/4 of a loaf of bread.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, I guess so. Because
and the water's poisonous now.
yeah, well, definitely. So yeah, they're definitely going to make sure that those corporations aren't held accountable because when you see just exactly how hard they were willing to fight for tax reform and where their priorities were to getting tax relief for the rich and the corporations, all the while ignoring our crumbling infrastructure, ignoring the crisis in Puerto Rico. We already just covered that just a few minutes ago. Ignoring the fact that a majority of people my age and Daniel's age and younger who are going to college or graduate from college or planning to go to graduate school are stuck in student debt. And student debt is a form of unforgivable debt.
Well,
so
don't
even
forget,
when you die,
with the new bill,
yeah,
you can't take that debt off in your taxes anymore.
Oh, you can't?
No, I think that got pulled out.
Oh, they did. Oh, wow. They really care about us, don't they? They really love us a lot. Well, thank you, honorable United States senators. Yeah. I only have one beacon of hope, and that is the Senate and House when they talk about it. In fact, hold on. The article actually states that they're going to go into conference with members of the United States House. And in that House, they're going to work out the differences between the bill that was passed in the House. We covered that last episode. And the bill that was basically passed this morning. So if they can come to an agreement, and both chambers would have to pass the version and work it on the conference, and then it's going to be signed by Donald Trump. And I only can imagine him doing a whole big Twitter storm about saying, finally, tax relief, campaign promise. This is what winning looks like. I can't say this is winning. This is so many people are going to be devastated. And the fact that we can't have a government that's going to represent us anymore, with the fact that we have a government that's going to work for somebody in Wall Street or someone who owns a large industrial corporation or somebody who's just a descendant from a rich parent, it sickens me. We don't have a republic anymore. We have an oligarchy, and it's staring us directly in the face. I would have to say that our Congress is living in a bubble. It's a disgusting swamp bubble that hasn't been drained. It's just, once again, just bubbling up, and we're locked out. And in fact, it should be noted that Mitch McConnell did state publicly to the media that no one can actually see the finer details of the agreement between the House and the Senate when they go into the conference. So they can't really see any other fine details that they'll agree on or disagree on. So we, as voting citizens, we're not allowed to see that. Does that sound like a democracy to you, Daniel?
Well, don't forget, like, even with the bill, like, parts of the bill that were passed in the Senate were handwritten at the last minute. So, and remember, Democrats were consciously locked out of the entire process. I think Sanders even said that they were physically locked out of the discussion rooms where this took place. So this was done entirely by Republicans for Republicans.
Can you imagine if the Democrats did that in 2008 when they had the House and Senate?
They should have.
What kind of screaming, howling display that the Republicans would have done way back in 2008? Because the fact that, I mean, I'm glad that the Democrats were stepping up saying this is wrong, we need to get in there, but it just shows just the hypocrisy of the GOP. Now, look, the Democrats have their problems. It's very true. And me and Daniel have spoken about this on the show numerous times. But the GOP, they are the standard bearers in regards to being bought off by corporations, being bought off by wealthy donors, and they are the ones who are basically leading the charge in this tax reform. So basically, if this tax reform, once this tax reform, if it does get passed, if it's signed by Donald Trump, they're going to own it. They're going to own this tax reform, and they're the ones who basically have control of 3 legislative branches.
Yeah.
So they can't just say it's the Democrats' fault if this thing falls flat on its face, and then they have to deal with their constituents who are struggling to survive. They're the ones who are going to have to answer for it, not the Democrats this time. I mean, or say for one Republican, though, who sided with the Democrats who voted against it.
Yeah, this is... we like Kit said, we attack the Democrats a lot, and for good reason.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest reasons I hit at Democrats more than I hit at Republicans isn't because I like Republicans more than I like Democrats. It's because Democrats have every advantage in the book.
Oh,
they
yeah.
have demographic advantage. They, on paper, have policy advantage. They have the advantage of raising money. They have the advantage of the states that they're in are more prosperous states. They have a larger population. Again, demographic advantage. Yet they just can't help but make themselves lose. So as a result, the Republican Party gets stronger.
Yeah.
The Republicans should be a regional party. There's no reason they should command any amount that they do. There's no reason. They have a smaller base. They have issues that most people are either indoctrinated into, but objectively they're just not as good. They have Republican people have we know a number of them. They have good ideas. The problem is their representation is trash.
Yeah.
A lot of the Democratic representation is no different.
Yeah.
However, it's this malice that is a difference. Again, Democrats, as corrupt as they may be, will never pass a piece of legislation that directly targets red states. And that doesn't count, like if you're talking abortion, that's really not what I'm talking about. I mean stuff that directly is that state's going to do worse than this state. Now, the Republicans in this bill are directly attacking blue states far more than they're attacking red states, and they're directly attacking blue states with the itemized deductions and a lot of stuff they're actually taking away states' rights. And remember, this is supposed to be the party of states' rights until they're in power, then it's federal rights.
Right.
So the reason we hit at the Democrats is they should be winners. They should be winning. They should be tired of winning. They should be winning so much that they get sick of it.
Yeah.
But they're choosing not to. And it's like watching someone get away with murder for the only reason that they're able to do so is the prosecution is brain dead.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
And,
They dug themselves into this hole.
Right. And well, let's also look at another bigger picture that's going to happen. 2018, the midterm election cycle is going to be here. If the Democrats can't push this issue forward, if they can't really push the numerous failures and really devastating policies and bills that the current Republican House and Senate are passing, then they deserve to lose because this is a winning manual. They can push forward on this. They can say, look at this devastating tax bill that's being passed by the GOP. We're not going to do this. In fact, we're going to cancel it. we're not going to vote on anything that's going to hurt working class families, the working poor. They should be the ones who should be saying, we're going to stand against Donald Trump. And of course, everyone's saying they're going to stand against Donald Trump, but we're going to offer alternative policies and solutions, such as being open, such as having a transparent government, getting money out of politics, really just rebuilding our infrastructure. Okay. And I don't see them doing that. I see a few candidates here and there who are probably associated with the Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, or Our Revolution. Maybe you might see that with some third parties or third-party organizations. They might have a candidate out there who's saying, no, we're going to offer these solutions and these fights, but it's not getting as much coverage. If the Democrats right now just push back and use this as a platform and to really bring their ideas, not only for 2018, but look at the bigger game for 2020. 2022, 2024, and so on. I keep on repeating. You got to look at a long-term solution to really implement real social change so that we can actually have a progressive, open, transparent democracy. We're not going to get it from the GOP, and we're not going to get it from President Trump. And to all the Trump supporters out there, sadly, Trump has hurt you guys as well. He doesn't care about anybody save for people who suck up to him and his family.
He just took money out of your pocket and put it in his, or he's about to.
Yeah, and I don't know what the long-term effects of this tax bill will be.
This is a big enough shift that you could really hurt the U.S. economy, or even I'm not going to speculate too much on it. But this is, again, Republicans. They're employees. They're employees of other people. They're not representatives. Democrats are very much the same way, and we've had that argument. This not really an argument, but the general argument that's been on the left is: do you try and reform the Democratic Party from the inside, like Sanders is doing, or do you create a third party from the outside? I've always held that, I still do, that the best path is to reform from the inside. However, there is a point where that calculation changes in my head, and a third party option is better. The reason I like the metaphor I give is, what's easier to do a hostile takeover of McDonald's or create a new McDonald's from scratch?
Right.
And so I look at it like that. And, this is what they're doing is they just need to be replaced by the right people, and the Democrats can go back to being the entirely undisputed dominant force in politics. Remember, there was a period where it was just Democratic presidents, one after another, and the Congress was Democratic, and the Republicans were just this little tiny background voice.
Yeah.
And that changed after the 70s with the first Buckley v. Valeo and the start of Citizens United, Money in Politics. But they could win. They could be winning. All they could do is be winning if they just choose to.
Yeah, if they choose to, but that means they got to break ties with their Wall Street donors, the lobbyists, the big corporations who give them money, and that's what cost them the 2016 election.
That's why what gets me so upset, that they would rather Democrats personally profit for themselves, than improve the entire country, which is the complete potential that they have.
Yeah. And I also want to add on another thing as well, especially in regards to potential voters. We've seen a lot of people distrust the Republican and Democratic establishment system. We've seen people who say they're both the same. And there's a growing majority of people who are identifying themselves as independents. And 42% of Americans are identifying themselves as independents. So that's going to be a huge political force at some point. There's going to be a point to where the system that's in place that stops third parties from being on the ballot or being on the debate stage, it won't hold, because people are willing to, if they're willing to sign out and sign petitions or canvass for a third-party candidate that's going to fight for policies and issues that they care about, people will do it, because they're not going to get it from the Republicans and they're not going to get it from the Democrats. We've interviewed Green Party, Libertarians, Socialist Alternative, and we've seen these candidates come out, canvass, and try and get themselves on the ballot on the debate stage, and sometimes they're pushed away. Sometimes they're on the debate stage here and there, but they're not officially recognized. And the only way we can really do that is by people getting actively involved. Now, Daniel is correct. If you can reform the Democratic Party from the inside out and actually have a party that's going to fight for populist, progressive ideals and actually get them passed and really be a force for change and get people actively involved, that's a good solution too. But if it doesn't happen, if the Democratic establishment continues to push back against, Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, our revolution, well, then eventually third parties is going to be the only choice to make, because the Republicans and Democrats are all bought out. They have a party. We're just none of us, the rest of us, we're not invited to it. We don't have a seat at the table. We don't have a voice. And while they say our vote matters, in reality it doesn't. It's all about the dollars for these people.
Yeah, this is 2017, almost 2018. We should be dealing with real problems, not this. This is oligarching. This is feudalism. These are issues that we should have been past after the Roaring '20s.
Well, listen. Well, when you see Mitch McConnell smile, like how he is in this article, you know something's wrong, because that man is incapable of giving a convincing smile that he's all happy and full of sunshines. He's happy right now because he made his donors happy.
And him and the party's about to get a lot of campaign donations.
Oh, yes. They're going to get their money. And to quote Donald Trump from the very first Republican primary debate, I give these people money and they do what I say. And he was pointing to his rivals at the time. I give these people money and they do what I say.
And they asked, hey, who's taking money from Donald Trump? All of them raised their hand.
There was only maybe like 2 that didn't.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But also, just to be fair, Hillary Clinton, who was running as United States Senator for New York at the time, also took donations from Donald Trump. And if what he said is true, he gave her money and she did what he said as well, because it's just one big party. The Democrats know the people from Goldman Sachs. The Republicans know people from Goldman Sachs. They know everybody in Wall Street. They know all the large corporations and donors. For the top 1%, for the large corporations in Wall Street, it's all about who's going to give them the most money. And right now, the GOP House and Senate just gave them one big present. You don't have that present. So if you're listening to this right now and you're concerned about the potential future for our democracy, well, you call up a United States Senator and House Representative, tell them to fight for these issues, to really have an open, transparent democracy. Have them stand up.
Yeah. And again,
and get involved. Don't be that person who says that they wish they could have helped.
Yeah, and don't forget that this is. Everyone that hear what we're talking about, you're going to feel it yourself. Again, if you don't make, I'm not sure if 100,000 is the cap, but it's around that.
Yeah.
If you make less than that, you're going to feel exactly what we're talking about. And maybe, stuff takes a while to roll out in bills.
Yeah.
So it may take a half a year, it may take a year.
Oh, but don't worry, it'll get you. It's
coming.
And it's just a sad state of affairs for our democracy.
So again, let's go over just very quickly. I think we're going to take a break very soon.
Yeah.
It's gonna take away the mandate, and even though again we have big issues with Obamacare and how it was set up and how it was just a freebie to insurance companies, you pull away the mandate, you create a death spiral, because then you get the people that offset the expensive people removed, so things just get increasingly expensive. And expensive things have gone. Premiums continue to rise. So on that end, if you do deductions for your taxes, or you do especially the state and local deductions, that's going to be affected. If you have loans, and again, it hasn't been finalized, so we're just going parts that exist right now. If you have student loans that you pay for school, that's no longer, you can't deduct that on your taxes either. Again, then they're going to come and start pulling away Medicare and Medicaid to counter this bill. So they're literally taking money out of the poor and middle class pockets and giving it to a few thousand people.
Yeah. And so with that note, Daniel, you pretty much said everything that needed to be said. We're going to be taking our break. We're going to be right back in just a few short minutes. So if you like what Hard Lens Media does, check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And also at 7 p.m. on Channel 21, CAN TV, we have our mini-series. Check it out. It's going to be another hard-hitting interview. So if you want to see more of us, check us out on Channel 21, CAN TV.
You're watching Hard Lens Media.